Welcome to Design Santa Barbara. I'm Michael Kurash, and today we are in Santa Barbara Design Center. I'm joined by my friend Stephanie Denier, who we have had the pleasure of featuring on the show several times in the past. Stephanie, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Michael.
Oh, this is my pleasure. How did you first get interested in design?
I have been interested in design since I was a child. I would always move my room around and create new inspiration, make things, do art, post it on the walls, even paint and wallpaper as a child in middle school. So the design inspiration and the thought of it has been in me from childhood.
From the get-go?
From the get-go.
That's great. Who are some of your design inspirations?
I think I take most inspiration from nature itself and from being outside, not necessarily from another person, but from what the world has to offer. Everything is an inspiration to me. And I would say one of the other major influences for me would be fashion. I do like to bring in what's hot and what's happening, or try to think about incorporating some of those patterns or ideas of what's really trending at the moment with the classic pieces.
From clothing fashion to the
right.
home fashion.
And to be able to tie them together for somebody, especially young professionals or families today.
That's wonderful. That takes me, you said outdoors, that takes me to this next question. What does Santa Barbara provide as a design location?
Oh, Santa Barbara's like a haven for design. It has mountains and beaches, beautiful colors. The weather is amazing. It's inspiration at every turn.
As you said, you're mostly inspired by nature and outdoors, and we have everything.
Correct.
We have the ocean, mountains, we have actually sometimes a river.
Right, or lakes.
Or a lake. That's wonderful. Do you prefer a hands-on client, or do you like to have full control over a project?
I actually like to do both. Many times will allow the client to dictate how they feel comfortable and how much involvement they would like me to have in the projects. Some clients want me to be completely involved and pick everything out, which I'm happy to do, and that's frankly a little easier sometimes. But it's also really fun working with clients and getting to know them and getting to know their tastes and their desires and how they live, and helping them feel comfortable and really blossom as designers themselves too sometimes.
Well, that's a good one. Which styles do you prefer to work in?
You know, I really enjoy many styles, from modern to traditional, colonial, Spanish, all of the above. What clients mostly come to me for is coastal design. Very casual, kind of a beach feeling. It seems to be something that, especially in the Santa Barbara area, people have the desire for, and even sort of online and how things are portrayed these days on some of the websites and shows and things like that. It seems to be sort of the direction that the clients are going in.
The coastal look. Very well. When we come back, Stephanie and I will talk about how she approaches designing a home in a smaller space. Stay tuned. There is more Design Santa Barbara after the break. Interior designers today, they're using a lot of contemporary and transitional rugs, and that's a segment that has been growing for us over the last few years. They come in many different natural fibers. I recommend you to get one that's hand knotted instead of hand tufted. This particular one is shiny like silk. It's made of bamboo. The other one comes in 1,200 colors, and we make it in every size and shape possible. It is bamboo and wool. And then we have this beauty that is very modern, but at the same time has colors of today's interiors. This other one is a gaby, is a traditional design, but with modern colors. If you are looking for a modern or transitional rug, please come to Rugs and More at 410 Olive, and I will be happy to help you. In this edition of Michael's Minutes, let's talk about sofas, be it classical, transitional, or modern. The style you choose should be based on your personal preference. Once you have a style, selecting the right size and shape for your space is critical. We offer love seats, sofas, sectionals, and sectionals with a return. The next step is selecting the right fabric for your lifestyle. You can choose from casual to durable, even washable. Last but not least comes the comfort of your sofa. We carry many materials like high-density foam that you can cover in polyester, down, or premium angel hair for maximum comfort and support. I invite you to come to Santa Barbara Design Center at 410 Olive Street and select your dream sofa.
Welcome to Rugs & More. We provide the West Coast with the most comprehensive collection of new, oriental, and antique rugs. Rugs are solid art investments and often become cherished family treasures. Our limitless inventory will warm up your home. Exotic or traditional, tribal or modern, our rugs weave stories through intricate patterns, compelling colors, and touchable materials. #1 in Santa Barbara for over 20 years. Visit us today at Rugs & More, 410 Olive Street in Santa Barbara.
Welcome back to Design Santa Barbara. Today I'm with Santa Barbara designer Stephanie Denier. Stephanie, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's pleasure, all mine. Questions?
Yes.
Living in Santa Barbara can sometimes be a challenge space-wise because the houses are generally a little bit smaller than other places.
Correct.
How do you take on designing an apartment or a smaller home?
The first thing I think for designing for a small home is really thinking about the floor plan or space plan, how that will be used, and making sure that every square foot is being utilized in some way. So if that is a possibility and it's a remodel or there's the option to move walls and sort of change some things, that's the very first thing I do, is make sure every inch of the floor plan or of the footprint is being accounted for. Then the next thing I like to think of is maybe some dual purposes. If it's a very small space, things that can have more than one function. Typically tables or, things like that can be used. Stools can be used as a table or a stool, for instance, or, there's many multi-purpose.
I've seen you use the dining table as a desk and then turn back to dining table.
Correct, exactly. There's so many options there. And so that's sort of the next step that I go to, is making sure that every part of the furniture floor plan has a function, not just beauty.
Just to look wonderful. How do you go about selecting a color palette? That's a question that comes up with every client I have ever had. How do you select the color palette?
Always in small spaces, I do light color palettes. If you do dark color palettes, it tends to really close in the space, close in the walls, bring in the whole area. So almost always I do a light color palette. It opens things up, allows you to breathe, and really feel free to move around, even in that small area.
So specifically in Santa Barbara, what kind of colors do you use?
I use lots of blues in Santa Barbara, Michael. Lots of blues with the coastal, going back to that coastal design, and a lot of what people are looking for, blues and greens, notes of yellows, and a lot of white. Of course, a lot of white, but blues and whites tend to be
the trend,
yes.
especially in our area. Very good. What is the most difficult project you have ever taken on? Have you ever had a difficult project? I don't know.
There's, no one project has been difficult on its own. There's always challenging points and things that you have to overcome, such as working with a tongue and groove ceiling and not having the electrical there to place lighting anywhere you'd like. We've created some lighting boxes and some ways to hide the electrical to be able to do that. Then there was another project that I have that I'm actually currently working on, which is, it relates to small spaces and difficult, is the fact that it's an Airstream trailer. So I'm working on this Airstream, and it's a small space, but it also has curves, and it has to be light, and all those extra requirements, create the difficulties that come along with it.
That's great. So the last question for this segment is, what are some of the differences between designing for a couple or a family?
The main focus in mind when designing for a family is always durability. Durability. How well can it be cleaned? How easily can it be laundered? Will it hold up to wear and tear? Will it be broken?
It will be.
That's always the first concern when designing for a family. And once it meets those requirements, the aesthetics come after that.
Absolutely.
And there's always beautiful products to choose from. But when you're designing for a couple, you have more flexibility to choose, lots of times things that are a little bit more rare or valuable or easily broken, or what's the word I'm looking for? That are slightly more fragile.
Fragile.
So when you have something more fragile, I kind of hold on to those for my.
For the little bit older people that they don't
Correct.
have kids, that they might not break it. Wonderful. Stay tuned. After this break, I want to talk with Stephanie about how she incorporates coastal influence into her designs. People often ask me why buy an antique rug that costs more than a new one. Antique rugs have been around for several thousand years. In fact, the oldest still intact rug is over 2,500 years old and currently resides at the Hermitage in St. Petersburg. Antique rugs have been made exclusively by hand as an art form, with hand-spun wool and natural dyes. They're passed down from generation to generation as an heirloom. These rugs become an incredible investment over time. Antique rugs have a unique patina and look that, like any other antique, cannot be replicated by modern manufacturing. These rugs add to the warmth of your room and give personality that average rugs cannot. Recently, a record was broken when a rug with ties to Santa Barbara sold for $34 million. Come into Santa Barbara Design Center today and see our incredible antique rug collection and choose your next family heirloom.
Welcome to Rugs and More. We provide the West Coast with the most comprehensive collection of new Oriental and antique rugs. Rugs are solid art investments and often become cherished family treasures. Our limitless inventory will warm up your home. Exotic or traditional, tribal or modern, our rugs weave stories through intricate patterns, compelling colors, and touchable materials. Number one in Santa Barbara for over 20 years. Visit us today at Rugs and More, 410 Olive Street in Santa Barbara.
Welcome back to Design Santa Barbara. I'm with my friend and noted Santa Barbara designer, Stephanie Denier.
Hello, Michael.
Tell me about designing with California's coastal influence in mind.
Santa Barbara's got so much to offer. The colors are one of the main things, taking in all the colors, the blues and the tans and whites that we talked about. Another feature is also the materials. It's not just about the colors, it's about using natural materials, light colors in both paints, but also in fabrics and the fixed finishes. The materials should have a light feeling to them as well, without a heavy texture, linens, cottons, things of that nature. Another material that I really am enjoying and that I've used a lot lately is floor tiles. that look like
Oh,
wood. So
yes,
instead of
yes,
using
yes.
the wood, using the floor tiles, it's so durable. People come in from the beach, they're able to throw their things on the floor, not worry about the water, not worry as much about the sand and
scratches
destruction.
and so on. Wonderful. What kind of elements can you incorporate with this style, with the coastal style?
Like I just said, of course, the ceramic tile, and it's not just about shells. It's not just about adding some shells here or a seahorse or something like that. It's about the way the house flows and the feeling, the casual aesthetic to it all, and a place to lounge, really a place to lounge and enjoy with those light colors and the blues and soft fabrics.
Great. What is your process when working with a new client? A lot of people would like to know that for sure.
When I have a new client, the first thing I do is I like to get to know them and what they'd like to get out of the project, whether it be a bathroom or a kitchen or a living room, what the priorities are, and a budget. It's important to know those things so that you can come up with a design that can suit their needs. The next thing that I then do is I go sort of create 2 to 3 design themes or ideas and show them so that they can say yes or no to certain elements, and we can bring some together or go in one direction. The step then after that would be to put it all into a cohesive way of managing it, a spreadsheet which you can then manage and give to contractors, and that I can bring in here and check off and select all of my items.
Wonderful. How do you incorporate antiques or personal items into a design? Sometimes it's difficult to bring things that they don't go with the motif. How do you do that?
You know, I think it's always really important to bring in a client's personal items. If it's something that's important to them, it's important to the design. And that's one of the things that I like to ask them at the beginning is, what do you have that's important? What would you like to include? And many times I use that as an inspirational point, either in colors or in shape, in pattern, in design in some way, so that that can be a focal point, and it really does make sense.
So the last question of this segment is, what is your ideal project?
My ideal project would be for a young family that is looking to do something in that coastal design, but then also add some fun elements, either in art or in, you know, some other kind of passionate way that would be a really fun thing to incorporate, and to then have it be functional for the family and livable, all those things. That's really what I enjoy most.
Well, thank you for the explanation, and I cannot thank you enough for being on our show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you having me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned. There will be more Design Santa Barbara after the break. Today I want to talk to you about chairs. Chairs come in many different styles and shapes, and classical, modern, or transitional look. This particular one is called Sarah, and it is a stationary chair, is a modern look. This particular one is a recliner and is leather and is a very classical look. This one is Barrack and is a swivel glider. Swivel gliders are my favorite chairs, and they're addictive. And it is in a transitional look. It is not modern, it is not classical, it is in between, a marriage between them all. And my favorite one is a Santa Barbara chair. We make these out of washable linen, and we make it with blend down inside of it, which is down and angel hair, most comfortable, and is a swivel. If you want to see any of these chairs in person, please come to Santa Barbara Design Center at 410 Olive. Interior designers today, they're using a lot of contemporary and transitional rugs, and that's a segment that has been growing for us over the last few years. They come in many different natural fibers. I recommend you to get one that's hand knotted instead of hand tufted. This particular one is shiny like silk. It's made of bamboo. The other one comes in 1,200 colors, and we make it in every size and shape possible. It is bamboo and wool. And then we have this beauty that is very modern, but at the same time has colors of today's interiors. This other one is a gaby, is a traditional design, but with modern colors. If you are looking for a modern or transitional rug, please come to Rugs and More at 410 Olive, and I will be happy to help you. I would like to share with you some pieces from pre-Columbian times. Pre-Columbian is defined as the period of Americas prior to arrival of the European explorers. Many pre-Columbian civilizations established hallmarks which included permanent settlements, cities, agriculture, civic and monumental architectures, major earthworks, and complex social hierarchies. Some of these civilizations had long faded by the time of the first permanent European colonies and are an archaeological treasure trove to this day. Other civilizations were contemporary with the colonial period and were described in European historical accounts of the time. A few, such as Maya civilization, had their own written records. Indigenous American cultures continue to evolve after the pre-Columbian era. Many of these peoples and their descendants continue traditional practices while evolving and adopting new cultural practices and technologies into their lives. And today we have some works of art for you to see from those millennia. We have a Chimu warrior dancer's cloth. This is a dance they have after the winning a battle or celebration of annual rain and thanksgiving to the gods. It is a beautiful cloth. It was probably buried with some warrior of importance. It is from Peru, as mentioned, and is roughly 1,000 years old. Very beautifully preserved because it never rains in certain parts of Peru and it's always dry. Then we have here Chauncey textile. Is very colorful, very rich. They say it's a Peruvian dog, but to me it looks more like a dragon, and dragons are in every culture, as you know, from east to the west, especially in the Americas, they had of an importance. It's very well done. It is very tightly knotted, and the weave on that is incredible. You think about it, this is roughly 1,000 years old. Then we have a necklace here, and the necklace looks like a condor, has the legs, has the wing, has the eye, has the beak, but also looks like a lot of these South American artifacts we find has multiple things. It looks like an alien to me, to be honest with you. And perhaps the front part of it used to be a knife, so cutting things or, you know, getting just raw meat would be easy to cut with that. Very beautiful. Has the beads that they are indigenous stones, and they have made little threads through it, use it as a necklace. We have a Mayan stone carved, it's a piece of a statue. I like to collect things that are very old. This is like about 1,000 years old and is Mayan. Then we have some shards from, again, statues, and they have more or less sheep's head and faces. It's from Jalisco, Mexico, and it's probably from 400 to 800 AD. It's beautiful items. I like old cultures and I like the old artifacts. If you want to see any of these, please come to Santa Barbara Design Center and view it for yourself.